All right, a big day here on a story we've covered for many years in this program, and it has to do with the future of Rye Playland. The Westchester Board of Legislators, they are set to vote on a deal that would allow a private operator to run the park for the next 15 to 30 years. And that in itself would be a huge change because right now Playland is the only county-owned amusement park in America. And as you'd expect, that would cause some interesting situations and even possibly some overt conflicts of interest. If something bad happens at the park, and this isn't a hypothetical, the county would investigate it. But since the county also owns the park, it would be the one obligated to protect its own interests. And as I said, this is not a hypothetical. 3 people died in accidents, 3 separate accidents at that park over a 3-year period not long ago. And it rattled the park and the county, and it had many people asking what was the future and what should be the future of this park, let alone the county's relationship to it. Now, Playland's finances are also another issue. The park loses millions of dollars every year, just about, and of course, money is always a factor when we're talking about what can be done with, you would think, prime real estate in Westchester County. And as much as anyone I know, our senior political correspondent, Andrew Whitman's been following this story for a while now. There's been a lot of fits and starts, Andrew. But today, it's been moving along, at least in the legislative process.
Yeah, there were some minor hiccups throughout the course of the day. It's been a slow process, but it did pass out of committee earlier. It is all but assured to pass through the County Board of Legislators tonight. That meeting gets underway at 7 o'clock in White Plains. This has the full backing of County Executive Rob Astorino. This is his proposal. This was the second-place finisher last year when they were looking for proposals. The deal that they eventually settled on last year fell apart. This was an Astorino campaign pledge in his first election in 2011. So this is a big deal for him to try to get through. And a lot of lawmakers have been dealing with this as long as you and I have been covering it, which is a long time. And frankly, a lot of them don't want these questions anymore. So the idea of 15 or 30 years of a private operator running the park sort of takes that off their hands and directs those questions elsewhere for the time being.
It doesn't, Andrew, it seems, because I've heard from some complaints to say for as long as this thing is taken, there's a little bit of a rush job aspect, isn't it? Haven't people complained to you, say, you're asking me to basically okay something when I haven't even read, forget about the fine print, the document itself.
And that was part of the difficulty this morning because lawmakers were still adjusting the language in the law before they voted on it in committee. Look, this was a surprise to everybody. Nobody expected a Playland plan to come this year. In April, right before the State of the County address, Rob Astorino presented the board with this proposal, and they had a 60-day window to approve it. Now, some people say that was for political reasons to try to make sure that it gets through. There have also been some questions as to whether there's a profit motive for the management company, Standard Amusements. Throughout this process, they have ducked a lot of questions by saying, we just don't know yet. After the vote tonight, if it goes the way we think, they'll be the co-managers of the park for the rest of the year, and they say they'll be able to learn more about questions about staffing or how long the season will last or how long a day of operation will last or how many employees they're going to be able to bring over to the new organization. So they haven't been able to answer those questions to legislators' satisfaction, yet it still seems as though the legislature is going to approve the deal tonight and answer those questions down the road.
And for anybody at home who says, this is some Westchester park, the vast majority of people who come to the park are coming from outside of Westchester. And Andrew, this thing has lost millions and millions of dollars. And it's clear from the beginning the county should never have been in the position to run it. This happened well before Astorino came in office, so I'm not putting it on this plate here. But at the same end, if you're going to basically say, I punt, you take it over, finally you would think the county would be out of the business of being both operator and investigator, and it's not like something could go wrong. 3 people, including a little kid, died over 3 years. The place was mismanaged horribly. But now, this is a sweetheart deal, at least as it appears on paper, isn't it? I mean, it seems like they get the benefit, the operator that would take it over, of basically making money, and if they lose money, the county's on the hook for some of those losses, and the county's got to insure it too.
There are a lot of benefits to the management company that seem to sweeten the deal to a certain extent. There are ways that they can get out of the deal and have the county pick up the tab. If the county doesn't sign on for a second 15 years, county's got to pay the bill for all of their expenses. That could be $18 to $20 million at that point. You talked about the conflict of interest between the county investigating something that happens at a county-owned park. That doesn't change as a result of this deal. Even if there is a mistake that's made by the management company, it's still county-owned property. It would still be the county police investigating. And you're right, the county does have the insurance and by the contract has to keep the insurance on all of this. So yes, that conflict of interest still exists. That's also one of the reasons why there were so many questions about this deal, because the county never pursued, at least publicly, the idea of, well, what if we invest the money and try to refurbish the park?
You know, again, you and I probably more than we should have followed this, okay? But there is so much non-transparency attached to this. The idea is the county's going to get it out of the business. I'm sorry, as a taxpayer, you'd think you'd want to know, okay, what are the terms of the deal? How much money are they really losing in debt financing, let alone just operating losses every year? All these open-ended questions. And it's not just guys like you and I who are looking into this that can't find the answers. Legislators are telling you they don't even know, and yet they're expected to pass the thing.
And yet one of the things that you saw as one of the bigger conflicts, the fact that the county still owns the park and still is in that potential double jeopardy position where it's investigating itself, has been viewed by a lot of these lawmakers as being a strength of the deal. That even if it doesn't go well, we still own the property, we still own the assets, we still can do with it what we will.
Whoop-de-flippin'-do.
After that point. So I think there's a lot of cross the fingers, hope this
Just
works.
want this to go away.
And
doesn't it seem this way? They want to
I think there's an element of that, absolutely. And I think it's also, look, if this thing works out, the county's going to get a piece of the profit after the company gets its expenses paid off.
If it doesn't work out, they get the bill.
If it doesn't work out, they get the bill, but they were sort of stuck with the bill anyway.
Ay, ay, ay. Okay, thank you, Andrew. Stay with me here because we're going to bring the panel next here. The push to get a state East Ramapo School District, another big issue we've been talking about that's impacting not only Rockland County, but has become a national debate here, has possibly hit a snag. The Assembly, as we told you, passed a bill on Friday, but the Senate, they had to okay it, and they said not so fast. We'll tell you about the latest details straight ahead.